Oh yeah,
how she seemed to you, made a difference. Something short, absolutely, and that's all I've
Oh yeah.
I guess
a spokesmodel for actually,
they like writing and literature, and those were their yeah. Oh.
I brought a bunch of pictures.
Would you like a joke? I've made, you can see I just pretty much got sticky pictures out.
These are
Productions. Yeah. Oh, here's your space.
okay.
It's for sure. And that's one that we had very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's. I'm Lois Stafford's daughter. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. She was the star. Oh, yeah. You're her daughter. I'm your daughter. I did swim, but never from Excel. I never really learned to crawl. But she didn't start until she retired. Well, the thing is, she got good training when she was young. So she had to take it over. And that's actually one of the stories she likes to tell people. When she was young, she weren't allowed to use, there was no athletic support for women. And the only way she got to be ready was that the daughter of that man, the legendary UNM chef. And he was giving his daughter swim lessons, and his daughter, because he had his lessons to come along. And she but then it was longer before she had no hours. Reached $1 million. Yes, my mother, she said, right, exactly. There's all kinds of medals. If there's been any events here, she probably got a lot of papers. Yeah, so she got I don't know, they got her. Don't ever forget that. Let me tell you, so good. Okay, all right, I'll write you on the list. Like a turkey was on top of it. That's all. We saw.
Yeah, it's right there at the end of the hall.
Leaves into her arms.
So last time I saw you was at Mars.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jean, if you want to sit right here, and then if I can have everybody just move forward, nice and close for me, come on up. I promise. Gotta be brave.
Thank you.
Put up over there.
Oh, yeah. It's a nice seeing you.
Yeah. I know. All of them.
No, that's a saying.
And,
She's amazing. She's a little lower than Laura.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's still, okay. So I want to welcome everybody. We are here to honor Lois Nochman, a dear soul, and it's very, my name is Paul Harrison. First of all, my name is Paul Harrison. I'm from the Baha'i community of Ann Arbor. Lois was a Baha'i, and so I just want to say just a couple quick things about the Baha'i faith, because it's like, Baha'is, what are Baha'is? Who are Baha'is? What is that? What does that mean? That is a religious community. I'm not here to proselytize. In fact, we are specifically forbidden to proselytize. But just so you know, like who we are and what we believe. The short story is that we believe in God. We believe that there is a life hereafter. One of the sort of specific things to the Baha'i faith is that Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, proclaimed the oneness of humanity, so that basically erases all distinction, so God loves everybody. So if you're not a Baha'i and you don't believe in Baha'u'llah, God loves you and I love you, you know, just where you are. Don't have to change, don't have to be different, don't have to like conform. So the Baha'i faith is actually really pretty new. It started in the 1800s. And the reason I say that is that if you look in the last page here, as a religious leader, Lois, she was really active in the Baha'i community in the 40s and 50s, which was a really pivotal time for the Baha'i community in the United States. It's a long story, but there was a lot of things that were how would I say this? A lot of Baha'i communities and institutions were being crystallized at that time. And Lois was right there in the middle of it. So she was basically like a spiritual pioneer. And I'm sure you all, I would imagine that pioneering spirit like shone forth in everything that she did. And I met her actually assisting the family with her husband Marvin's funeral. And I was just like taken aback by just what an amazing person she was, you know. And so I'm just really honored to be here to serve the family and to serve all of you. So I'm going to say, and all of the prayers that are going to be recited today, this is all basically, these are all Lois's, as per Lois's instructions. So this is all a reflection of Lois's desires and will. So I'm going to do a few short passages from a book that's called The Hidden Words. O Son of Man, veiled in my immemorial being and in the ancient eternity of my essence, I knew my love for thee. Therefore I created thee, have engraved on thee mine image, and revealed to thee my beauty. O Son of Man, I loved thy creation, hence I created thee. Wherefore do thou love me, that I may name thy name and fill thy soul with the spirit of life. O Son of Being, with the hands of power I made thee, and with the fingers of strength I created thee. And within thee I have placed the essence of my light. Be thou content with it and seek naught else. For my work is perfect and my command is binding. Question it not, nor have a doubt thereof. O Son of Man, thou art my dominion, and my dominion perisheth not. Wherefore fearest thou thy perishing? Thou art my light, and my light shall never be extinguished. Why dost thou dread extinction? Thou art my glory, and my glory fadeth not. Thou art my robe, and my robe shall never be outworn. Abide then in thy love for me, that thou mayest find me in the realm of glory. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to Jean.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Okay. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. So I think this is a funeral. A death has occurred. And death is one of the great mysteries and very appropriate subject for us to contemplate here at a funeral. And at the same time, I don't want my mom to get lost in all this grand considerations. My mom was a very unusual and spectacular person. And she had achievements in so many different areas and fields. And I'm sure there are people here who are going to speak to some of those. Clearly, she was a scholar and an educator, and that was very important to her, and stayed that way till the end of her life. Honestly, a week before she died, the staff at the nursing home where she lived were saying to me, "Oh, I told your mom I'm going to help you lay down." And she said, "Oh, it's not lay, dear, it's lie." And they get the wonderful thing about them is they got a kick out of her. They just, they just thought that was amazing. And sometimes she would come out at breakfast and give them little lectures. One of the ones that they reported to me was, "What on earth did a grain see in Lancelot?" Good question. I'd like to know the answer, but we never got that far. So she definitely was an educator, and of course she was my mom. We'll talk about that in a minute, but she then, when she retired, became interested in swimming and went on to win all kinds of medals, to be inducted into the International Swimmers Hall of Fame. Just remarkable. And accumulated enough medals to fill the entire den in my parents' home. Well, what led her into swimming really was not competitiveness, as she told me. It was not, any particular need to acquire lots of medals. It was the opportunity to work with young people to encourage their achievements and to serve the team, to be part of the team. And since she almost always won anything she was in, they had kind of an anchor there, that would help carry some people who were starting out and were still building. The swimming led her into scuba diving, and I remember her telling me her joy in being under the water, that it was another world, and went on many, many dive trips. Of course, she was also now a grandmother with 4 practically grown grandchildren, and that has been a joy to her. But the only part of that I can really share with you from my experience is as a mother. And I wasn't very old before I noticed that she was not like the mothers of my friends. She was, one of my lines is, she wasn't the kind of mother where if you colored a little bluebird in your coloring book and you did it perfectly between the lines and you took it to her and said, "See, Mommy, look what I did," that she would praise you and put it on the refrigerator. She'd go, "Oh, that's nice, dear." She was the kind of mother who, if she found you quarreling with your sister, would throw open the door and say, "A plague on both your houses." And we go, many years later, they took us to see Romeo and Juliet. And in the last scene, when the Duke comes out and says that, we look at each other and go, oh, all is revealed. But although she wasn't, the super warm, fuzzy, cookie baking kind of mom, she had standards. She had things that it was important to her to pass on to us. And the way she did this was, we would do the dishes, or I would do the dishes one night, my sister would do the dishes the next night. She did not stand at the sink with us and dry while we exchanged little confidences about our day. It was not that informal. I washed and dried while she sat at the table and drilled me on grammar, vocabulary, and spelling. And I didn't really mind. She would say things like, these are the sheets I use on my college students, so let's see what you can do with them, right? And so I would feel kind of proud and kind of challenged by that. And the other odd thing about that, those kitchen sessions, after technology pretty much obliterated my ability to have a professional career, I stumbled into a career that was based entirely on what my mom taught me at that kitchen table. Grammar. During the course of my life, grammar has become exotic. hardly anybody knows it. And if you do, you have some cachet. So say, thank you, Mom. And as I said, my hope for this funeral is that people leave here with a better sense of who my mom was as a person. Most of the people here today know her accomplishments and what she did. To have a sense of her as a person. And there are people here who have interacted with her to a large extent and have some things they'd like to say. I'd like to start with Skip, who was her swim coach, because he knows more than anyone else about her years as a swimmer and medal winner and champion.
Should I put
Ready?
something here?
Yeah.
Well, I first ran into Lois.
Come on up here. You gotta do the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. My name is Skip Thompson, and Lois is probably the greatest swimmer I've ever been associated with on a team, coaching, as a person. And I've met her in the fall of '86, and she was getting into Senior Olympics, and she was swimming at the Y, but she bonded with some of our teammates. We had another person that was 5 years older than her named Edith Gluzak, and they really bonded. And Jewel Cook was another one that bonded that was 10 years old, and these guys were excellent swimmers. So she kind of got into the meet, started setting state records, and then she came over to she left the Y because they weren't working out consistently. I had her working out 5 days a week, and she was retired. And I'll never forget the first practice she went to. She was just dead, and she was trying to keep up with people. And I said, well, do you want to come back in a couple of days? She goes, no, I want to come back tomorrow. And I said, well, aren't you awfully tired? She goes, that's what I'm here for. So she just, and then she started getting into meets, both in Senior Olympics and in Masters, started state records. Then she started getting national prominence. And she set a couple national records, and her first one was 1991. And she said, I really want to go full out on this because I think I'm pretty good, but I want to see how good I can be. So she really dedicated her life to swimming every week, every meet, every season. And then I found out later, because I had known Buck Dawson from the International Swimming Hall of Fame, and he was real big in Ann Arbor here for a long time. And his wife, Rosemary, was a very good age group coach. I found out that she used to train with Rosemary on Saturdays when Matt Mann was giving swim lessons. And so Matt
It's okay, we can hear you.
Okay. Matt Mann saw something special in her. And her brother was an All-American swimmer in high school, and he swam on the U of M team. And he saw the same talent that Lois had, but unfortunately, and everybody knows this, back then women couldn't compete in sports. It was crazy. I studied the history of the sport, and Gertrude Ederle swam the English Channel faster than anybody. And I wasn't, I was born in 1951, but I could never figure that out. Even today, they were real slow getting that Title IX in '72 and all that. So she had a lot of untapped talent that was never realized. And I talked to her one time. She said, my brother, I was really glad for him and everything, but I think I could have done something back then. And later, when toward the end of her master's career, when she was interviewed by Swimming World magazine, they asked her that. They said, do you think you could have made some Olympic teams? And she would have been primed for the 40s or 48 or something, and she said yes. And so I think that kind of had an inner drive in her to really succeed. And I could see it at the meets and everything like that. And the whole state Michigan Masters was just behind her, because she was setting, I think in 1994, when she was 70, she set 4 world records in one meet. And then she just started, and by the time her career was over with, she had like 60 world records and 90 national records. And the thing was, she really helped. She motivated a lot of women swimmers and was very encouraging to them. She was an encouraging type of person. And they knew that she was a real serious worker because she didn't kind of, like screw around or something. I mean, she was very serious about her swimming, but she was really nice. She was real serious at what she did. And it just showed. And, we really missed her. I know that when Marv was not doing very well, she cut back on her swimming. And that was like about 2010 or 11. But for the years for like 26 years, she was the best swimmer in the state, no question. And we had a lot of good ones. We had some swimmers at U of M that swam with Matt Mann and Gus Stager, and we had a lot of good ones. And but the thing is, when they gave the Hall of Fame speech, which was really neat, they had a film, and they had old films of Buck Dawson and Mary, his wife, Rosemary Mann. And Charlie Moss was a swimmer back then, and when he contacted Lois, he remembered the brother and Louis Keevy. And so it was a small world back then. And when she got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I think Louis was he knew she was a good swimmer, but she just surprised everybody when she got in, because it is very hard to get into that Hall of Fame as a master's athlete, as a regular athlete, swimmer, diver. And so that was really, when that happened, and it happened right, it was perfect timing because she was just kind of having to do more responsibilities with Marv. And when she got inducted, if I remember correctly, they moved out of Parkwood. I think it was 11 or 12. And Marv was not doing very well. He was a great guy. He supported her a lot. And I remember one nationals that we went to in 91, they had a tennis court there, and he got a tennis racket and was playing with somebody during the breaks. I mean, he was just and so, then after she got inducted, she started taking care of him. And then, she thought about all the years she swam, and she wanted to spend more time with the grandkids, the great grandkids. So she kind of retired. And I said, you deserve it. And she had rotator cuff surgery in 2002, and the doctor recommended that she have another one on the other side of her shoulder because she worked out so hard and everything. And she didn't want to do that. And I said, well, nobody expects you to do it in your 90s. You are a legend in this state, and you do whatever you want to do. And we would have banquets, and we would invite her, and people would be just thrilled to get an award if they swam really well during the year. We had a couple guys that got world records, and they were going, wow, I'm getting an award from a legend. Larry Day and Dan Stevenson, people like that. And so it was just a phenomenal career. And I always made it a point. This year, I probably should have visited her, but I was thinking about her about a week ago, honest to God. And I visited her on her birthday. I'd always take a picture and put it on Facebook. And I did that for 2 years. And then Laura Gagola, who was a real close friend, moved to San Diego. So I went up there by myself back last November, and I was going to go after Labor Day because one of my close friends, Sally Guffrey, her mom passed away the day before Lois did. So all this stuff is happening all at once, and the holidays coming up. And so when I found this out, but I was thinking about her in August, I said, she's going to be 99. That's a big milestone in 2 months. So but when I got the news, I was able to get a lot of photographs. I have articles that were written in 2007 when she got the Lifetime Achievement Award. I have an article for our newsletter when she was inducted in the International Hall of Fame. And at our banquet, she gave a speech when she retired from swimming, and she got a standing ovation. So I have all those. I documented them, and I brought all the pictures here, and I have extra ones that I can give to Jean. She doesn't have them. But she was just an incredible person, nice person, very smart, very sharp. Unfortunately, her era, I just couldn't imagine if she would have been born 40 or 50 years later with the way swimming is today, And U of M, she would have been a star at U of M, probably would have been in their Hall of Fame. And so I put a video up of her. They interviewed her for Swimming World for 20 minutes when she got inducted. And she talked about, she was very humble. She just said, they said, how do you feel about the women today getting all this? And she said, I think it's great. She said, I think because we've progressed. We have not, she said, I wasn't the type of person in the 60s I wasn't into like these women going on the street and trying to find themselves and everything. I was really wanting them to change the laws and have a fair playing field. And so that was her whole thing. And it finally happened, you know, with Title IX and everything. And then the athletes of the late 80s and 90s prospered. And I don't know how she'd feel today with all this transgender stuff, but that's just another issue. But anyway, the thing is, she really didn't hold, you know, she just said, you know, I was glad that I found master swimming, because it was something when I was a young girl that I could not get into. And I saw my brother getting into it and all, you know, all the men friends. And U of M had the great teams with Matt Mann and everything. And so that was just when she first was swimming, she said, I don't know if I want to do this. But then when she got into it and started racing, it brought back the memories of when she was a kid. And then when she went to the meets, she was swimming against people that swam for private clubs and were really good swimmers, and she was keeping up to them. And then she eventually was passing them. And so I think a lot of people were amazed at how fast she developed, how good she was. And even some of her competitors couldn't believe it, because back in those days, before they had the age group program and everything, they didn't have any college programs for women. Basically, the private clubs were all you could swim. And she learned to swim at the cottage here in Ann Arbor, up someplace. I remember her in the video saying that. And she always had the talent, but it's just very great that she found us and we found her, because she helped our team, helped our organization, and she helped herself by doing something that was missing in her youth. And I remember her saying that, you know, it's a human need for somebody to really succeed. And when you don't have that opportunity to do it, you remember. So she just, you know, remembered all that and stuff. And then when she left the sport, she was proud. And I'll tell you, she was a pioneer. I mean, before, you know, there had professional swimming, she was you'll see it over here, she did advertisements for like Max earplugs, because she used them a lot. So she did that stuff. She was in certain videos. And she just had a fantastic career. It was just great. And I just wanted to support her. I would give her rides. Edith, Laura Gola, we would all get together and we encouraged everything, and it was just great. I mean, Edith was a real firecracker. They just bonded. They drove down to North Carolina for a meet one time. I couldn't believe it, in their late 60s, 70s. I mean, they would do stuff. And, you know, Rita here swam with Lois a little bit, and Ann Hunt, who I don't know is here yet, but they're coming later probably. But everybody remembers her. And I put a post on Facebook, and I got like 100 responses just like that, because people remembered her from 35 years ago, because there's a big swim network out there, and they see stuff and they remember. And I had a picture of her Hall of Fame, and I linked the interview that she had with Swimming World. And I just, you know, I still have a lot of stuff, and I was trying to get the articles that we wrote every year, because in 2007 she was Lifetime Achievement Award, then she got the Hall of Fame induction, and then all her swimming accomplishments were just incredible. And she was just an incredible person. And I'm learning more about her, you know, as an educator, when she taught at Highland Park for many years. You know, I remember her telling me it was kind of rough toward the end of that Highland Park, because I'm trying to remember the story. She said they were at Wrigley's, her and Marv were shopping, and there was a robbery there. And so after that, she just said, you know, I had to get out of there and everything like that. And it was, I think that, I don't know, it was 62 or 3 or something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
You've given us a really good
Okay.
picture of Mom as a swimmer.
Sure.
I get some other people.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, I'm kind of hoping that, maybe Joan would talk of, she actually put my mom in one of her books. And, can you make it all the way? Can you speak from there? You need the mic. Yeah. Really.
Thank you. You can hear me?
Yes.
Great, great. My relationship with Lois started because she was married to Marvin, and Marvin was my husband Mayor's first cousin. So I always thought of her as more of an educator. And many years ago, I was working on a book called Portraits of Creative Aging. It was about people in their retirement years who were doing very creative things that really excited them about the later part of life. And I knew Lois was a swimmer, but I had no idea. So I asked both Marvin and Lois if they would allow me to interview them. And I recorded the interviews and basically edited them and published it in the book as, in first person narratives. And this morning I went and found the book and read the part about Lois. And again, I was just totally awed. I had so forgotten so much of what she had done. And in the interview with her, I sat there with my mouth open because she had done so many incredible things in her second career in life as a swimmer. But I just wanted to add two little things. And one was when she and a friend who was related to Nochman, apparently, would go on Saturdays to the Michigan Union. They had to go down the side door. They couldn't go in the front door. And they had to pay 15 cents to have admission to the Michigan Union. And that man would make comments about their swimming style. And apparently it took. The other thing that I thought was sort of interesting is she basically said that towards the end of our interview, she said to me, I became one with the water every time I was swimming, which felt like a very spiritual comment that she was making to me. That's all I have to add to this.
So before we close, we probably have time for one more person that has a particular comment.
I'll just say one more thing about Mom as an educator. A story that she was rather proud of. Apparently, one of her students came back after he had graduated, flung open the door to the dean's office, and announced, "Mrs. Nochman is the meanest and the best." she always thought that was just the right epithet for her.
Yeah, please, my brother Joe.
Thank you all for coming. It really means a lot to me to see everybody here. If there is a good part of a funeral, it's getting other people's perspectives on the person who you thought you knew. Because I guess we're all kind of like a blind man with the elephant, proverbially speaking. Some people knew her from her days in academia, from her swimming, from her scuba diving, from the Baha'i faith. It's just really interesting to see. About the swimming and the scuba diving, it was really, I thought, more about the adventure. Than, of course, she was animated by the competition, getting medals, and being celebrated for that, but she really loved the journey too. With the swimming and the scuba diving, it was an excuse to go to fantastic places and see the sights in the company of friends, and just enjoy the trip. And I think that even if she didn't win a medal at all, she would have still gone just for that reason. Yeah. thank you all for coming. It really means a lot to me.
Okay, and again, this is as per Lois's instructions. There are 2 more prayers I'm going to read for you today. All praise, O my God, be to thee, who art the source of all glory and majesty, of greatness and honor, of sovereignty and dominion, of loftiness and grace, of awe and power. Whomsoever thou willest, thou causest to draw nigh unto the most great ocean. And on whomsoever thou desirest, thou conferrest the honor of recognizing thy most ancient name. Of all who are in heaven and on earth, none can withstand the operation of thy sovereign will. From all eternity, thou didst rule the entire creation, and thou wilt continue forevermore to exercise thy dominion over all created things. There is none other God but thee, the Almighty, the most exalted, the all-powerful, the all-wise. Illumine, O Lord, the faces of thy servants, that they may behold thee, and cleanse their hearts, that they may turn unto the court of thy heavenly favor, and recognize him who is the manifestation of thyself, and the dayspring of thine essence. Verily, thou art the Lord of all worlds. There is no God but thee, the unconstrained, the all-subduing. And then lastly, magnified be thy name, O my God, for that thou hast manifested the day which is the King of days, the day which thou didst announce unto thy chosen ones and thy prophets in thy most excellent tablets, the day whereon thou didst shed the splendor of the glory of all thy names upon all created things. Great is his blessedness, whosoever hath set himself towards thee, and entered thy presence, and caught the accents of thy voice. I beseech thee, O my Lord, by the name of him round whom circleth in adoration the kingdom of thy names, that thou wilt graciously assist them that are dear to thee, to glorify thy word among thy servants, and to shed abroad thy praise amidst thy creatures, so that the ecstasies of thy revelation may fill the souls of all the dwellers of thine earth. Since thou hast guided them, O my Lord, unto the living waters of thy grace, grant by thy bounty that they may not be kept back from thee. And since thou hast summoned them to the habitation of thy throne, drive them not out from thy presence through thy loving kindness. Send down upon them what shall wholly detach them from aught else except thyself, and make them able to soar in the atmosphere of thy nearness, in such wise that neither the ascendancy of the oppressor, nor the suggestions of them that have disbelieved in thy most august and mighty self shall be capable of keeping them back from thee. So again, I want to say for myself and on behalf of the Baha'i community that it is just really an honor to serve this family and all of you today.
On behalf of Mule Lake Funeral Chapel, it has been our honor and privilege to serve Lois's family in the time of their need. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to have a time of luncheon and fellowship across the hall with the family. Before we do that, I'm going to have one last opportunity in case anyone felt the need to share. Does anybody want to have any last minute stories? Okay, so what I'm going to do is my staff's going to open the doors to your right, and we're going to dismiss from the back of the room forward. We invite you to come forward and place a hand on her casket so she can have a touch of you to go with her forever. And then if you'd like to take a look at the memory tables for a time of reliving her wonderful and amazing life where she accomplished so much. Again, thank you for allowing the opportunity for us to serve your family, and I'll begin dismissing from the back forward.
Oh my God. Oh, this is so awesome.